Yesterday, Saturday, April 7th, is World Health Day for 2023 with the theme Health for All. It is celebrated annually and each year draws attention to a specific health topic of concern to people all over the world. This year's commemoration offers mankind another opportunity to pause and ponder over how much progress has been made in the global effort to tackle the ravages of the COVID pandemic and perhaps double up on whatever that's been done to stave off the next big one. In the words of renowned global philanthropist Bill Gates. Right now, we're being joined here by Dr. Blossom Maduafokwa, who is Public Relations Officer of Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, Lagos Chapter, to speak about this matter, as well as the 2023 Global Cocaine Report, as published by United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime, and which makes grim reading for both Nigeria and West Africa. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Good to have you again.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's always a pleasure.
All right.
All right, then. Let's go straight into it. I mean, we're going to delve into the cocaine reports, but I think we have to talk about something that is literally at the top of minds for a lot of medical professionals and just Nigerian citizens as a whole. Now, we know what happened, this week with this bill being passed, this bill seeking to curb the brain drain, they called it, by mandating Nigerian medical doctors to practice for at least 5 years in the country before going abroad. And we know that it has passed a second reading in the House of Representatives. I want to know what your thoughts are on this. It's
very interesting times that we live in. So it just sort of highlights the way we make decisions in leadership in this country. If you encounter a problem, there's something we call the problem-solving paradigm, where you identify the problem, identify the determinants of the problem, and when you're crafting solutions, you look at the consequences of the solutions that you're crafting. So when you look at this bill, so individuals graduating from medical school stay in the country for 5 years. Where are they going to work? People actually don't realize. When I graduated from medical school, a lot of us had to wait and run around the country looking for where to do our housemanship. To do residency, sometimes you have to look for places for like 3 to 4 years. So where are these people actually going to work? We don't have the health facilities. Where are the healthcare materials that are going to work with? We don't have healthcare materials for them to work with. So these are some of the issues that people are actually not looking at. So an individual, and I was watching some of the videos, and one of the people had said, their education is subsidized, so they have to give back. So are you saying that anyone that graduates from a public Nigerian university has to stay back? Not just it can be only the healthcare professionals, because they're not the only people that their education is being subsidized. So these guys have been in school, some of them 9-10 years because of strikes. So they come out, you say it's subsidized, so everybody has to stay back in the country for 5 years. How is that going to work? You're trying to solve the problem of healthcare access. Is this really the first step that you're going to take? What about provision of even more medical schools? What about provision of funding for the healthcare system? Our healthcare funding to GDP is 3%, below the recommended 15% to GDP. So you're jumping all the steps that you should have taken and getting to this particular point. So there's a big problem with that position.
Okay, I think it's an interesting part that Sheito is actually starting, with this, because, the way I look at it is that it's an important topic, given that yesterday was, World Health Day. And part of the reason why, that day has been celebrated is also to celebrate, caregivers themselves. And here we are in a country of 200 million people. And we have, my good friend and Egbon, Honorable Ganiu Johnson, who's actually, the gentleman who introduced the bill, saying that I understand the vision behind it, but then I'm not sure, just like you have explained, that this has been well, thought through.
Yes.
How do you think that, I have seen the reaction of the MBA and the resident doctors saying that this is not where to start from.
Exactly.
But then do you recognize the challenge that the he's trying to address, through this bill. The challenge that, one, not only do we not have enough doctors as we speak, we are far below what United Nations recommend. But then even with that little number, a good chunk of doctors that we are producing are into Japan. Everybody wants to move abroad, and it's a concern.
Yes.
And therefore, he's saying that let's find a way to make them stay and contribute to the healthcare development in Nigeria. Do you think that if it has been worded differently, that it will have made more sense, or you just think that you really can regulate what a doctor does with his or her life after graduation?
So I think the wording is not where the concern is. So there's something with immigration, there's something we call the push and the pull factors.
Yeah.
So have you noticed that there are more doctors and nurses, even physiotherapists, medical lab scientists leaving the country now than, say, 5-10 years? When I graduated, people were leaving, but not at this rate. So these push factors have increasingly intensified. So what are these? So these are the things that you need to be addressing. So what are the push factors? Things like insecurity for healthcare professionals. When I remember doing a rotation in the ER, and as soon as I walked in, my colleague said, you need to take off your name tag. Because yes, they're going to attack you. Who wants to work like that? So people always think, the doctors, they always want more money. Is the money that is... No, there are other push factors. Insecurity, you don't have work tools. I have colleagues that have to buy their work tools with their own money and use for patients. Who wants to keep doing that? And then you have other climes where these things are provided. What about the training? I see people that have been in residency training for 7 years. Who wants to be in residency training for 7 years? In places like the US, it's a standard time-based 3 years and you're done. So it looks, so that's a pool.
Time here in
so
Nigeria?
If you're really, really fast, you can do it in 5 years, but people tend to do it 6-7 years. So so that's a pull factor. So you're looking to yourself, you've already been on strike for how many years? You graduated medical school, you were supposed to be there for 6 years, you spent 9 years, and then you're looking at this residency, which you have to wait 2 to 3 or 4 years to be able to get in because they don't have enough spots. And then when you ask, they'll be like, but we don't have enough funding to pay all of you. So when someone is saying all of you should stay back, are you going to pay them? So you have these pull factors. Person is looking and saying, I only need to do my residency for 3 years. I don't have to buy my work tools myself. I don't have to remove my name tag from my scrubs because I'm scared someone is going to come beat me up or kill me. These are the factors that you should be addressing. So forcing someone to stay here, you're not solving the problem. We need to solve these determinants of the problem.
Definitely. And when you talk about the JAPA element, what you see there is all these doctors and nurses going to a system that thrives and appreciates them and pays them. And you spoke about the budget. I mean, we went from the health sector's budget going from about 237 billion in 2015 to 580 in 2023. And you're saying that it's still not enough.
Yes, because you have to compare it to GDP.
Okay.
So it's a portion of that to GDP that we look at, not the absolute figure. And the thing is, even what is budgeted, it ends up not being allocated. And when it's allocated, it's not allocated to the right levels of healthcare, particularly primary healthcare. So these are where the problems lie. So these are the problems that we should be solving.
The theme for this year's World Health Day is health for all, and I know that since 2006, the WHO's World Global Health Report has always been coming out. There are new things that are out there as far as health for all is concerned, and what are the major global health issues that should be of concern to many people this time around? Okay,
that's such a great question because it's something I'm very passionate about. So in 1978, the world came together in a city called Alma-Ata in Kazakhstan, and came up with what we call primary health care. So primary health care was deployed in so many different countries, but we have come back to primary health care. So the theme of this year's World Health Day is Healthcare for All, revitalizing primary health care. Because primary health care, we have seen that is the key to universal health coverage, because it's essential and it targets majority of the population, and it's more easily sustained by the communities. People actually don't realize that primary health centers in Nigeria are free. People call me sometimes like, oh, my mom is sick, what do? I don't have money. I say, go to your primary health center, and they don't believe it. And I send them a list of primary health centers, and there's one close to them. They get there, to their shock, healthcare is free.
I mean, isn't that also a problem? Just to buttress that point, it's maybe a problem with dissemination of information, because you just saying that now, I still would pay, huge amounts of money just to make sure that I'm treated.
Yes.
So isn't there a disconnect between the people that need these services and, people like you that are aware of, primary healthcare centers that are available across the country?
You're absolutely correct. And that's why this World Health Day, that was made a focus, because people actually don't know that these facilities exist. There are primary health centers that run 24/7. People actually don't know.
In Lagos, you mean?
In Lagos. In other parts of the country as well, but primary health centers in Lagos are quite robust, doing very, 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 very well. People actually don't realize this. People can have their antenatal, deliver their children in these facilities, all for free.
You're very correct.
That's
That's something I'm very familiar with, and I also marvel when people, the kind of language that we use about, oh, nothing is working, everything is correct. It's not quite correct. Yes, there is a challenge. Our population is huge, compared to what is there. But then not many people, as you have said, are even aware of what is there for free.
Can we clear that up right now? Like, if I wanted to access that list of primary healthcare centers, where can I find it?
It's online. Yeah. Just go. And the funny thing is, I always have it on my phone, because people don't believe me. So I always have it on my phone, and I'm like, don't worry, I'll send it to you.
There are a number of them in Lagos, that are doing quite well.
Yes.
All right, then.
And almost in practically all the local governments.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, just to add this, there's a commissioner for health in Lagos State who is very brilliant, who communicates very well. I think Lagos has been lucky, and they are there. Of course, maybe the other question would be, if everybody is aware, would they be able to contain and do? But then the point is that they are there.
They are there.
And you can use them. And I think that that's the sort of message that should resonate on an important day like yesterday, especially among, health workers.
And what we're saying is, because traditionally we fund our secondary health centers, tertiary, we tend to be top heavy. We need to direct our funding to the primary healthcare level, because that's the place where we can meet the people. It's a lot more efficient, and we can reach as many people as possible at that level.
Well, while we're still waiting on the government to do what is needed and increase the funds and create that thriving environment for medical professionals, is there any collaboration between the private sector and the public health physicians for Nigeria? Is there any collaborations that is trying to at least fill in that void in the meantime?
So there have been some collaborations. My organization, Association of Public Health Physicians, we actually had a private organization approach us, and they wanted to sort of adopt several primary health centers. Okay. And it's something that we sort of have been working on for a while. So people actually can do that. And I believe, speaking to some of the individuals, one of the things that they raised was some of the roadblocks that they met when they wanted to partner with the primary health centers. Okay, so we want to renovate this place, and you hear, well, you have to give the contract to this person, and it has to be at this amount. So that was where we sort of hit a roadblock. But people are actually willing to partner with, I have several people that have come to me, we want to adopt primary health centers. So private individuals are actually quite willing to partner with these public institutions.
Okay, before we talk a bit about the global cocaine report for 2023, I would like your views on a general note, using yesterday's World Health Day as a basis. We've survived COVID, but there are other issues, that we are dealing with. Good news came from Moderna that by 2030 there will be a vaccine for health issues and for cancer, I believe. But then when we hear stakeholders like Mr. Bill Gates, for example, and the sort of whole, the world, should do enough, should do a lot more, should be prepared in case the next big threat comes. How fearful should we be that in spite of all that we're doing and everything, that just around the corner, something unexpected might happen? And how are we going to cope?
It's not that we should be fearful, but there's something we call emergency preparedness, which is what you do when there's nothing happening. And that's one of the reasons why I think Nigeria was a little bit more successful with COVID, because with Ebola, we had built up systems and we sort of had these what we call emergency operating center models in place. So once COVID hit, we just deployed. So I think that's what he's trying to say. It's almost like if you have an accident on Third Mainland Bridge, is that when you're going to build an emergency room? You should already have the emergency room ready. The doctors should be there, the materials should be there, so that when you have the accidents, you have somewhere to take them. So that's the point. Emergency preparedness is the key. So in terms of R&D, research and development for vaccines, medications, for example, one of the key life savings during COVID was because the technology, the messenger RNA technology that brought us the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines had already been developed. So basically, the vaccine just piggybacked on it. So that's what emergency preparedness is. You get ready because it's going to come, but we're not fearful. Yes.
All right, then I think it's time for us to actually talk about, this global report on cocaine, the 2023 report. You're very, thick 184-page document.
I read the whole thing.
And there are very interesting, eye-catching, statistics. One, of course, being the fact that, there has been a 400% spike in cocaine seizures across Africa in 2021. And then to now bring it down to Nigeria, they're seeing that Nigerian citizens have been the most frequently arrested nationality trying to smuggle, cocaine. I mean, when you look at this problem as a whole, I mean, what are your thoughts about this report?
So I read the report, like the whole thing, and when I got to the part about Nigeria, I wasn't surprised. See, the socioeconomic environment is a key determinant.
That's right.
Let's be honest with ourselves. So when you have young people, let's say the person has been admitted to university, and for the first year of their university life, they're actually at home. They're doing nothing because the school is on strike.
The first session.
Exactly.
At home.
So what is the person going to do? The person is not engaged. So these are the things. So 40% of the whole country lives in extreme poverty. So these are all the things that...
Determinant factors.
Yes, that cause these things to happen. So someone sits down and says to themselves, well, this is easy money. What they can do to me? I'm already suffering here. If they catch me, I'll just continue to suffer. So that's what has actually led to this damning report on Nigeria.
You're right. I mean, the report was very clear, in attributing, the root causes, which you also alluded to. But we can't also ignore the fact that, at least in the last couple of years, the NDLEA under General Buba Marwa has done quite a lot. But then people say that the mere fact that it's working and we are seeing all these, seizures and arrests show the enormity, of the problem.
Yes.
From the healthcare point of view, how do you think the Nigerian healthcare sector can deal more, not just with cocaine this time around, but with substances generally? These days we hear of, Loud, we hear of Colorado, funny names everywhere that's what they do.
Very innovative.
And then you're like, not just area boys, to use that word. University student, people in Ireland, boys and girls. Boys and girls.
Yes.
It's almost like it's getting to a point of an emergency.
Yes.
What do you think this says to healthcare, in terms of, because people are basically running amok?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So when we look at this issue, there are different levels that we look at. We look at the individual level. So the individual may have personal issues that could drive them to that behavior. You have peer influence, very, very important. You have schools, both individuals in school and out of school.
Yeah.
You have institutions like our churches and our mosques. You have communities, and then you have the policy level.
That's right.
So every single level has an impact on how the individual behaves. At the policy level, for example, how do we guard our borders? So air, sea and land. How do we guard our borders? Another policy level issue, the chemists, the pharmacies. How do you police them to ensure that these substances don't get out? I have a colleague who said, for me to prescribe one of these drugs to a patient that needs it, I have to jump through hoops. How are these children getting it? So someone is giving it to them through the back door. So these have to be policed. Again, I go back to education. The young person is supposed to be in school, is not in school. In fact, our education system we're all about book. Our young people don't have extracurricular activities in schools because studies have shown that when young people are engaged in, say, sports, arts, drama, things like that, they are less likely to engage in these behaviors. So our schools are just structured around English and math, science, and that's it. So that's a structural problem. Then when you come down to the level of the community, there's a lot of fractionation when it comes to the community. Our communities are not together because of insecurity. When I was younger, you could go outside, play with your neighbors. It was a whole community, but now everybody's child is locked up at home and you can't get out. So that affects the sense of community. Then you come down to our schools, health education. It needs to be incorporated into the curriculum for it to actually make a difference from a young age for a child. And then you have peer pressure, we have social media, we have celebrities encouraging these behaviors, and the young people are looking up.
Of pop culture.
Exactly, it's normal, and you don't even need to look at the ones in your country. All over the world, you have access to all these celebrities. And then, of course, peer pressure, we know, is a key problem in this age group. So these are all the levels on which these young people are bombarded by the drive to do these illicit drugs.
I mean, I'd like to believe that with your background, you have participated in numerous medical outreaches.
Yes.
So, I mean, if we're just looking at that, especially for the children, I mean, you've spoken about in the institution, in schools, but focusing on the family units now.
Yes.
Can there, be a bit more done in that arena, just to show a guide so that they can avoid, a lifetime of drugs? I mean, is that something that would be effective?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's something we call the school health program. So the school health program is not just focused on the children, it's focused on the teachers and the families and even the community. So you're not just educating the children, because sometimes some parents and caregivers don't actually know what to say, what to tell their children. You tell them, oh, educate your children, but they really don't know what to say. So we educate the parents and the caregivers so that they can know how to administer the right information to their children at a young age, at the most appropriate age, to start to administer the health education to their children on the need to avoid illicit drugs. So that's a way that we can reach families.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very amazing analysis of starting from the bill to World Health Day and now, of course, preparedness for our next big one. Dr. Blossom Maduafokwa, who is the Public Relations Officer of the Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, Lagos chapter. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Doctor.